Hello, my name is Brandy Hofer, your host and founder of Color Me Happy, a community podcast and book, all of which I started in my in-home studio whilst in the throes of motherhood. I am an artist, author, educator, and mother to 3 beautiful boys. We live and create together in our in-home studio that is tucked away in the quiet Canadian prairies. Our podcast and community was built to empower and inspire. We chat about everything from motherhood, the art world, business, and health in the most honest and authentic way. It's totally unedited and unfiltered. If you love what we do here, become a part of our free community, Color Me Happy. We have grown the community to support our members with features and interviews. Our link is in the notes. Thank you for being here. I sure do appreciate your time. Hello. Welcome to Color Me Happy Community. Thank you so much for being here. I sure do appreciate it. You're going to really love this podcast today. Jodi Miller is back, and she had a very popular first episode. And so be sure to tune into that if you didn't. And it's Jodi with an I, Jodi, Miller. Really great, cool story of Jodi's aerospace engineer journey, and she joined the Army when she was 17, and it was a good one. So don't miss it in the lead up to this. And then of course we just have really good conversations about everything, and this one was really insightful about life and overcoming hardships. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for being here. Be sure to catch our sale. I know it's sale season, and I'm sure you feel overwhelmed. I'm so sorry to join the throes of the sale, but it is a nice time if you did have your eye on something. I appreciate your support. There are originals available. The original code is SALE15. That's as low or high? I don't know. Is that'll ever go on originals. They only go on sale twice a year, and that's now and in the spring. So be sure to catch that sale. If you have any questions, I'm happy to chat anytime. I know originals are an investment, but again, they're a piece of my soul going into your home, and they took so many hours, thought, and time, and they're truly an investment in what I do as an artist and a creative, and it does grow over time. So you can always think about it that way. So originals and classes are on for 20% off. Yes, and the code is SALE20. SALE 20, and prints are on sale, which make really unique gifts. I'll put the links in the notes below, so check that out. The print sale is 40% off, and the code is SALE40. Again, I appreciate you being here today so much, and like everything you see, every post, every little note, every weekend inspiration newsletter, every story, anything, I'm obviously behind it. So the difference is, and we speak about this today in the podcast, is that I'm pretty obsessed with what I do because I really love it. So I try any way possible to make it work. And I love that so many people are here listening and supporting, because really you make us move forward in a positive way, impacting not only you, but our community, surrounding area, and other creatives across the globe. And it's just a really special journey. So thank you so much, and enjoy this episode. We couldn't do it without our partners: Red Bicycle Communications, Bio Clean Disaster Services, Oasis Hot Yoga and Spin Studio, and I'm like counting out on my hand which you couldn't see under the camera, and Nouveau Laser and Aesthetic Center. Oh, which Nouveau I did, so usually I do like a Pico laser for like acne and scarring. I recently tried something new. It's like a chemical peel. It's like a newer version. It sounds, when you say chemical peel, kind of scary, but it was awesome. I really liked it. Like my scars, my acne scars, and as women, we all kind of get hormonal acne a little bit, especially women in their 30s, 40s ish, and going through motherhood. So I love that, and it like took away some congestion. Yeah, so try it out. Not at home, but at Nouveau, they'll answer any questions you have. I think they have free consultations, so check that out. Again, thank you for being here and enjoy this episode. We'll chat with you soon. Be sure to share anything, because a lot of people are buying classes with the sale code. So make sure to be sharing your work and thoughts in our Color Me Happy community, because I just love seeing it. Oh, here they are. Here we go. Can't go interrupted. My kids have been sick since I got home from St. John, doing amazing, unexpected things. Hey, buddy, what's up? Are you not sitting beside your dad in the garage?
But he's not doing it.
Well, I'm in the middle of a podcast, so he's gonna have to help you out. It's like when I'm like upstairs, they're like, "Mom, can I have some water?" And I'm like, "You're right beside your dad. Like, ask him." Anyway, I was sick last week before the trip, and now they're all sick with fevers, and it's terrible. And I'm so sorry, because I know everyone's going through the same thing. So, just rest. Just sleep it off. Just keep sleeping. And you'll catch up with the rest of it later. The world is not going to fall apart if you need to catch up because you're not feeling well. Okay. Thanks for being here. We'll chat soon. Remember, I'm really good at chatting on Instagram at Brandy Hofer Studios if you have any questions anytime.
Yeah, you know exactly what he wants when he wants.
Yeah, I had one of those, and unfortunately, and I still feel terrible for getting rid of her to this day, but I just was in the throes of new babies.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't have a cat waking me up when they have a fucking automatic feeder that feeds them in an hour.
Yeah,
like,
thankfully he doesn't do that. So he just has this thing, like he wants to be outside, big hunter or whatever, fine, but it's cold. So then he's like, doesn't like it outside, but he still wants to be, like, he wants you to fix the weather. Like, that's really what it is.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
You're in charge of that, aren't you?
Yeah, so he just keeps going back to the door being like, come on, like, this time's going to be different. For sure, this time's going to be different. Anyway, yeah, so.
I was watching this pet show on Netflix with my kids, and some woman, have you seen that dog that she made buttons for her dog? So it speaks in sentences. Yes. And he hates the rain, so he complains about the rain in sentences.
I haven't seen that one, but I have seen him talk. Yeah, and I'm like, huh.
I'm like, okay, right? Now know like a poodle of some sort. I don't know much about dogs, but I'm like, okay, maybe dogs are smarter than cats.
They're just different. I have one of those too. She's curled up here now, so we'll see how long she goes before she barks or whatever. But yeah.
I think if I had some land and they were outside, I wouldn't mind pets again. But right now in the season of, like, Teddy's a dog. He's constant.
He is. How old is Teddy now?
4. He just turned 4. So
yeah. Super busy. So busy.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. So I want to say to our listeners, so Jodi came on, I don't know, last year. And let's do a review. But if you haven't listened to that podcast, tune back in because it was so good.
It was a lot of fun. Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for doing that. So do you want to give like a little overview? You're a vet, so you were an aerospace engineer.
That's right. Yay, good homework. Yeah. So the short version is I'm from small town Saskatchewan, well, a farm. So grew up a farm kid, craved a life of big adventure, joined the military when I was 17 as an aerospace engineering officer. I had no idea what that was, but sounded awesome. Lots of travel. So yeah, fast forward through tons of training, got to live all over Canada and abroad. And I worked primarily in search and rescue and project management and on aircraft, helicopters, that kind of stuff. Super cool. But I had always had art in my back pocket. So Yeah. And that became a full-time thing in 2015 when I retired from the military, made the big, brave switch over and, went through the full identity crisis and now can call myself an artist. So yeah, that's the abbreviated version.
Very, because I think it was a very long first podcast.
I know. Well, and we can go into any one of those pieces probably for longer if you like, but yeah, it's been quite an adventure and definitely non-linear, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think if we leave space and room for things to take hold in a way that we don't expect, like you have to leave a little bit of wiggle room for that.
I
You know
guess.
what I mean?
Yeah, I totally do. I think for me, it's like it's just growth and curiosity. And like, those are two things I value immensely. So continuing down that path of like asking that question, well, what is my why? What do I really want to do? Oh, and there's the cat walking on the computer screen. Yeah. He's back.
I'm listening to Marie Folio. Is that Forleo? I don't know. I think she was the like queen of online education, basically back in the day. And so I don't even know if she said this, but after I was listening to her, I was like, what I'm taking away from what I'm hearing right now is like, be curious and be present.
Yes. Right. And how hard is that to be
It's super fucking hard.
Right? Has been a real, so for me, even allowing, like, I think a couple of things. One, I come from a super practical family, which is why it was hard to go into the arts and actually be able to even just say out loud, I want to, like, that was hard. So just, yeah, having that space and time to actually allow yourself, even just to make the first little peep of, yeah, I think this feels good to me and I'm curious, I want to go down this path. So that's hard. Like, that is big and brave, and kudos to everybody who does that every day. And then for me, getting mindful of actually not just kind of, and you have little ones and I had 3 that are pretty close together in age, and it was like just a crazy time where you're literally just surviving, right? So you don't have time to really say, what does this look like for me? You're just trying to keep going. Right. So yeah, so that was hard.
Just staying afloat.
Right.
Like, and you're like, anyone gonna throw me a lifeboat?
I'm not sure that happens.
No.
I mean, yeah, I think there is still, yeah, I mean, I thank God for relationships. And that's one of the big reasons that I think the creative realm has been really good for me. And I've sort of found space and friendships and connections that matter. But finding those, that all takes time, effort, energy, and is so important, but so challenging too, right?
I like the people where you can just like pick up where you left off.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about that. I was like, man, Brandy and I talked about this like a year ago, and then we'll just carry on. It'll be great.
Yeah. And no one's mad because the other one didn't like.
Oh no. Yeah.
And we're all busy and nobody really cares about anyone else's stuff because they're so busy with their own. And that's what I try to tell people all the time who are afraid of doing things. Yes. It's like, nobody actually cares about it that much, what you're doing. So you might as well just do what you want. And really, it is, you're right. The hardest first step is asking for what you want. And that is a really, really hard, big step. But the thing is, and I spoke about this at the PCMA where I was on the East Coast in St. John, and they let me speak. They're like, you're going to speak for like 2 minutes, right? I was like, 5, 10? I don't know. And I was really nervous, and I'm trying to get better at public speaking. And every time I do grow, every time I do it.
100%. Yes.
Because it's the worst. And it's so hard. Everyone feels the same way. But like you just through the lead up is so hard. It's all you think about. And you're like, this is only 5 minutes of my whole entire life. And it's like really taking all of my mental effort. Like, don't forget this, don't forget that. Writing it on my hand. Like, anyway, they let me speak, which was great because it was like a good practice run because I wasn't actually booked as a speaker at their conference. So perfect. I was just announcing the Joni Mitchell auction. But what I spoke to them about, and why it's so important to be passionate and find yourself
Yes.
in your passion is because you'll want to keep going even when the hard stuff is like taking hold. You're like, I'm gonna figure out a way through this because like I have to, because I love doing, you know, when you hit those high points and those goals, it's like I'm going to keep doing, like, for example, I'm going to keep doing project-based planning and community outreach and working with people to raise money so I can do a project like I did with
Yes.
the murals
Which
again,
was
because
amazing.
it felt so like that was the high point of my entire career. Like, I want that feeling again, and I will
Yeah.
do anything to get back to that moment, right? So I think that's the difference, and it's rooted in your why.
Yes. And I think for me, allowing myself the time and space to sit quietly and learn what that why is and examine your values and be able to just sort of quiet the ego and things for a few minutes. That was hard. Like that whole mindfulness piece, that was really, really challenging. I heard a great quote lately that was, you spend your 20s basically worrying about what everyone is thinking of you. And then you spend your 40s being like, I don't really care anymore what everyone is thinking of me, like just more comfortable in your own skin, which is where I'm at. So it's feeling pretty good. But then I was laughing because apparently you get to your 60s and you finally realize, oh, no one was actually thinking about me anyway, because they're too busy thinking about themselves, right? So I mean, what a beautiful truth to just give yourself some grace and be like, okay, you know what? Everyone else is in their own minds playing these games too. So, yeah.
Yes, everyone is. And I always like, who did I don't know who that was, but I had them on and I might have called the podcast Nobody Cares. Like, they really don't. Like, yeah, practicing empathy, practicing compassion, growing through helping others, really important. But
Totally.
you can't do that. You can't do those things unless you yourself are taken care of. Like, I
Yeah.
talk about it all the time. I'm gonna grab it because it's literally at the spot where I eat breakfast and have tea.
Perfect.
So here it is. And I love money mindset books, and everyone knows it. Well, my
Really?
very small
Interesting.
listener pod.
Why?
But hopefully it's a bigger listener pod one day. But I opened this book up because it's like so short and so simple. I think it's like not even 100 pages. And it was written in the late 1800s, or yeah, late 1800s. And it's by Wallace D. Wattles. And
I'm taking a note.
yeah, Jen Sincero recommended this book, and it's called The Science of Getting Rich, Attracting Financial Success Through Creative Thought. So his concept, and so it's like a formula of basically anything that you can imagine, you can make real. Like that, the power of thought and the power of mindset. And by practicing gratitude and elevating yourself, because the only way, if you sit in the thought of poverty, he says something like this, if you sit in the thought of poverty, you yourself will become impoverished. But if you sit in the thought of growth and mindset and like whatever it is that you're growing toward or want to, you start stepping into that person. And like many people have adapted these same concepts, but it's 100 pages of that same thing, but just very, straightforward. So I bought this book for other people, but I even left it for like a year and a half or 2 years and I didn't read it. And I think Jen left it for 5 years, Jen Sincero, and she was like, whatever, Waddles. So there's a little bit about God, and that's fine. Like, there's a lot of people who believe in God. I believe in like universe and manifestation. But like, that's okay, because it's just the power of your mind and energy and something that is greater than yourself. Right. So Yeah, I love it. I love it. And it's personal growth. It's not just about money, but we need money to grow. It's just the way it is.
Yes, yes. There is some of that. It's funny because as I was like, it's Black Friday as we chat
Mm.
here.
I saw your post.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Intense.
And there's just a lot of, so you begin to question the consumerism and everything else that's going with it. So I like, thinking about money as just another tool to sort of personal growth and spirituality and that kind of stuff instead of just the more culture, more. So yeah, so it's, that is something I've been doing a lot of research on, trying to make sure that I feel comfortable in like, what are your values and what are you doing to support yourself to attain those values and get closer to living like a full life of integrity. I have a couple great books on that kind of stuff too. Like, what is your truth? And are you living that? And are you demonstrating that for your kids so that they can go forward in those things? So for me, that's like an ongoing journey, I think, and an
I
exploration.
think it has to be ongoing. Like,
yeah,
reading a little bit, whatever your thing is, whatever's realistic to fit into your everyday life.
Yeah.
And of course my book is about that, but like it's like whatever you like 5-10 minutes 15-20, like hitting all those, your exercise, your mindset growth. So if you sit for 5 minutes and have your breakfast or tea, read a little literature. If you're driving in a car, listen to some
I love it.
books. Podcasts,
yeah,
audio. I love audiobooks. Podcasts are really time consuming because there's a lot of like I know we're on a podcast.
Yeah, I was laughing like, okay, true.
But there's a lot of fluff and conversation. Like Rich Roll, I love his concept of living life, and I'm trying out his plant-based living because he always talks about, what did he run? Like five Ironmans in a row? Like without like, I'm like, okay, that's worth a shot. If this guy's like feeling the best in his 50s because he's eating plant-based, like that's worth a shot. But his podcasts are so fucking long. And I'm just like, there's a lot of, and with an audiobooks, it's like they've edited it and they're like getting to the point every time because
True.
So efficiency in life when you're in the season of little kids is very
That's true. And I'm expanding out the other side with all my teenagers being like, no. So one of my plans as I shift into the new year is slow. Like, so I want to purposely be slow and give more space to contemplation. And yeah, I mean, I read that book on slow, I don't know, like a decade ago. And I just listened to a podcast from the guy that wrote it, and he's still writing. And I can't remember his name either, but the concept is not that you are moving slowly all the time. The concept is really that you're just using those slow breaks. Like you can't sprint through life, right? And you won't see anything, you won't experience stuff because you're just running. But there are times when you need to sprint for a variety of reasons, right? But in the other seasons and times, you need to go slower so that you're prepared and ready to sprint when you need to. So I loved that metaphor and that concept. So I'm like, yes. So I'm trying to just make space for that right now.
Your energy, by the way, is super chill right now. So like comparatively to mine. And I really love it. So with teenagers, is it you're slowing down because they don't want to be around you, or season of life going?
So I'm lucky, I think. And I mean, I've always considered myself lucky. I guess it depends how you frame it, right? Like I've had bumps certainly along the way, and I've had some significant losses in my life, but I feel like, yeah, my relationship with my kids is fabulous. Teenagers, so fun, different, so much going on, but yeah, they're great. They really like fill me up and challenge and push buttons, but in a fun way. for the most part. And yeah, so we're really close. We've got a great relationship, but I think it's more me trying to, instead of be an example of how you tie your shoes, which is maybe the phase that you're at, I'm really trying to be an example of, hey, how can you live a good life? And what does your good life, yours, look like? Because yours is going to look different than mine. And, I may not need a Bugatti and a Rolex as maybe older teenagers feel that they need for a good life. But I'm okay. Like, you need to
Thank
be
you,
okay,
YouTube. Thanks,
Yeah.
YouTube.
right?
They're just like, I need that car specifically.
So that has been a really interesting, I think some of that has driven my own personal exploration into this sort of the consumerist kind of culture and the idea of like, okay, what does it look like to slow and just look around? I listened to another great podcast this morning on my run, and she was discussing like how to, and I'm all about the gratitude practice. I sometimes find it very frustrating, especially as an anecdote, to grieve, because I've experienced like a ton of that, and it's sometimes just really hard when someone says, you just need to be grateful. And I'm like, oh, let me tell you, that is not the feeling that's going through right now. But
Yeah.
but to be able to break it down further and more specifically to smaller bits that feel, I guess, more reasonable and bite-sized, that helps me slow and actually be purposeful and kind of just sit and re-examine and then allow myself to go forward more kindly. Self-compassion. Yeah, that's a biggie.
Yeah. Yeah. We only have so much to give.
Yeah.
I love, so when you're talking about slowing, but sometimes you need to sprint, and it reminded me of, because I obviously know this book back and forth. It's like dog
yes.
and underlined. And so I luckily found the page, but he says to have faith in your ability to meet any emergency when it arrives. And I think that's such an important concept, and almost like I think people should get out a pen to think about a time where you met a situation because you have the ability and the wherewithal and the knowledge to, when things present themselves, and it might be an opportunity or like pushing you past your, your normal, I don't know, your normal routine of life.
Yes.
I think you have to believe in yourself and have faith in your ability to meet any, not only like emergency, I'm talking like accidents or anything, but I think, having faith that you can do those things, like and I think it takes time to have that confidence.
Mm-hmm. Confidence is a big one, I think. And I think just learning to be comfortable in your own skin, that does take time and practice, and feeling out, who am I? Who is this person here? And who do I want to be? And are they close? Are they the same? And taking those baby steps. I have another book that I'm reading, and she talks about 1 degree turns. So if you're like, I am this right now, but I think I want to be here, like this feels better to me. And then taking those small turns rather than trying to make a hard right or hard left to like get yourself aligned. That really resonates with me too. Like, and in those smaller degrees, like, how can you celebrate your small successes? How can you find that specificity in your like gratitude practice that really allows you to be, I guess, comfortable with who you are and where you want to go, and then be able to realize that. And I think that's part and parcel of like getting to know, I have these needs, but until you actually sit back and say, hey, like, this is me. This is who I want to be. And it's scary to put that out there, right? There's a vulnerability aspect. And of course, like, I'm sure you've read Brene Brown, whom I love, right? And
I haven't. I love her, but I haven't actually listened or read her books, which is weird. I should put that on my list.
You should, because I love her practical sort of stepping out into that and vulnerability, and how that actually is the path to your wholeheartedness. It's uncomfortable. It's kind of not clean. The whole thing is a bit.
I think I haven't, because I put myself in uncomfortable situations so often that I haven't felt like the need to anymore anyways, in the last 5 years, like I put myself in such uncomfortable, and I've totally bombed at a lot of them.
Good.
So yeah, so I've never like felt the pull to like, oh, try something scary. Because, but I do love her, and I think that so many people need that push to step outside of themselves and fail.
Yes. And there's so
She
much
talks a lot
science.
about failing, right?
Yeah, she does. There's a lot of science behind the failure element of things and why that's actually so critical. As
Your brain. It's like a
yeah,
function of your brain.
yes. And that is something we actually talk about as a family too. Like, hey, like, okay, so you failed at this, or you bombed this test, or this didn't go as you like planned. That's okay. That's okay. In fact, that's great. Like, now what? Now what do you want? What do you want to take from that? What do you want to leave
It's
behind?
actually how your brain learns. It like creates those new what are they called?
Neuroplasticity. Yes.
Yeah. So it's actually, yes, it's necessary. It sucks. No one likes it. And that's why people avoid it.
I think that too, like culturally, we've been sort of taught that it's not okay. Right. So yeah, that's been you're kind of bucking a little bit of the social norms that you were trained in by just pushing that.
Well,
And
the invention of man, people, is actually, it's because we live in these lives of ease, you know?
yeah,
Like everything has been made easier by convenience and invention. And well, we won't get into that. I clearly documentaried out on my way home on the airplane. Like, so I
interesting.
like, yes, I did. I love self-learning. And you clearly do too.
Yep.
It's so important. You don't have to always follow the practices you learn or hear about, but you can give them a try. You can try them out and see if they fit, see if those shoes fit for you. But I think there is a lot to take away. But yeah, I was watching like the Blue Zone stuff and like
I have
food
watched that
documentaries,
too.
and
Yes.
the Blue Zone one's so good because I mean they're all done now. Like they're toast since he exposed them all. But modern day culture has just, made its way into those blue zones. So sorry, the Blue Zones, if you haven't seen it on Netflix,
Yeah, it's great.
is where he's found centenarians. Is that what they're called?
I think so. Yeah. The 100-year-olds. They're well over
Yes.
100. Yeah.
Yeah, and why they lived to 100. And ease of life was not anyone's reason for living a long life. It was community, lifestyle, not exercise specifically, and like growing your own food and making your own food. So basically moving through your day, surviving is the reason why they live so so convenience culture and consumerism is literally, it's killing us. But this got dark, but it's just the truth of the world.
It's tough. I think part of that is losing your sense of purpose too, right? Like there is something really lovely in preparing a meal for your family, right? So, and you don't have to be a good cook to prepare a meal for your family.
And your sense of community and interaction and love.
Yeah, I love that too. And especially especially after the COVID sort of experience of losing all that community, I think that was one of the things that you take for granted. And that's a sort of a very specific gratitude moment for me to be like, no, I actually really enjoy being with these people and around these types of, environments and things. So actually really enjoying them while I'm present in them. Yeah, that's been an exciting thing. Interesting. Yeah, the Blue Zone one, I've watched a ton of those I love it. I love the idea of we can always grow and self-improve and get better. And yeah, I think that translates to just my general approach of like hope. Like I am very hopeful, like to think of myself as optimistic, but not dogmatically so, but more pragmatically so. That no, there are moments like I'm learning to experience all the emotions, and I think that's really healthy and wise for parenting and stuff too. But it's a continuing journey of development for sure. for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're humans and hardships are going to happen. Like nothing, we're never going to float through
Darn it.
unscathed. Yeah. And like we mentioned before, like it is the function of the brain and it is how you grow into the person that you are meant to be. And it might not look like the person you expected. Like I sure as shit wouldn't have guessed I would be jumping on stage in front of hundreds of people willing to share a sentence or to be looked at. And
Yeah.
not only that, but like starting to enjoy it, you know? It's so strange. But it wouldn't have happened if those hard things didn't happen.
I think it's so cool to just, realize that is part of your story. And then you're keeping those bits of the story that, have made you who you are, and letting go, I'm sure, of the ones that are not fitting so nicely anymore and making space for new stories. Yeah, I really enjoy that element of sort of weaving the threads and choosing and stepping back. And I've been doing a lot of work in that side of things lately. Like, what is the story? Why is it important? And what do I want? Is this absolutely the truth of the story, or is it just a story? Because we as humans love to make up stories and fill in gaps, right? So that's a great thing about slowing down and giving yourself that pause, is like, no, wait, is that really the story? Is that the whole story? Is that actually the truth? And is that the truth that I want to keep going forward with? Or can I take my 1 degree turn and shift slightly? So
your own personal voice, your own personal narrator. And the fact that you like, and I know because I was a very negative, I have feedback and I don't know why. So we're just going to go with it.
right.
Every day is full of choices. And I seriously went from being like a ho-hum kind of victim to stepping out of, you can either feel sorry for yourself and what's happened to you and live like that. Maybe I'll just take these out. Okay, so yes, every day, like you can step out of victimhood no matter your circumstance. Like I know through loss, like I would never be the strong woman I am. Like I'm a strong woman because of my mother, just because she was a very strong, opinionated woman and said what was on her mind then and there, for the most part. But I think when you lose that parent situation, you become very resourceful.
Yeah, I think, yes, that's a tough one. So I have lost, both my parents, actually. So yeah, that's a close, tough one for sure. But I'm not sure if I think of myself as resourceful so much as I just think of myself as having a choice. And I think we talked about this last time, and I've done a lot of self-reflection, I think, too, to say no, like, what will I choose? Because ultimately you can choose to stay where you are or stay small. Like, it applies to really all elements of life. But I think for me, I try to make the choice when I get up every morning that no, I'm going to make this one the best one, and that I can right now. Like, I am not going out to buy a Rolex today, and I'm okay with that. So what's next on my list that could be really great? So yeah, I think it's that, and learning to be, I don't know if the word is present maybe, and just, these are all the feelings, and it does give you strength to be able to acknowledge them, and even the negative ones, I think, and to be able to go forward with that knowledge, if that makes sense. Yeah. It's tough.
No, it is. And I think maybe, I mean, it's a tough season when you lose someone, for sure. And you don't step out. I only can say that, like, stepping out of with years and years and years behind it, right? And I say resourceful because, you ask your mom everything and they kind of make decisions for you.
It's true. And my mom was also probably like you're super opinionated and she had a plan for like everything. And so, yeah, that was a big void. And yeah, I had a new baby basically at that time and a toddler. And I was like, ah. So, yeah, you lose that extra input.
Yeah. And you're like,
But
I have to figure this out myself. And so that's what I mean. You grow and
yeah,
grow and grow
that's
because
true.
you're continually, your brain is put through a new fucking triathlon of new learning, jumping from one thing to the next. And I think
Yes.
it's a really big time of growth. Yeah, we went through, my dad also almost died in June. And so he's got kind of a new lease on life. And I think that's a real big gift when people are given a second chance. So yeah, life throws fucking curveballs at you all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And there's always, unfortunately, through those hardships, there's always stuff to take away.
Yeah. And I think that is the human condition, right? Like that's part of trying to make sense of the whole experience. But at the same time, I think for me, it's not just like, yeah, it's not just trying to grow. Some of it is purely trying to survive through those moments, but also just trying to, find that bit of grace for yourself to just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And you don't have to try to make sense of it. You don't have to try to evolve as a superstar, but you do, I think, need to just keep living. So, and how you do that, you have choices every day that you make and those small incremental changes to try to heal and grow.
Yeah, some days will be like, I got out of bed and I went for a walk and I cooked a meal today. Like that could be a win, you know?
Yeah.
Depending on what season of life you are in.
And self-compassion is one of the hardest lessons that I'm still learning, I think, on that front, is how to treat yourself kindly and to quiet the negative inner voices, because man, do they get loud sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And social media is challenging for that too, because, you have these funny artificial expectations on what's real and what's not, and where should I be in the comparative game. So yeah, slowing down has really helped me to move away from the comparison and try to sit in where I need to, where am I and where would I like to go?
Mm-hmm.
So,
like real life goals and achievements.
yeah.
Those are artificial.
Yeah.
Those are artificial achievements. And it's a place I love it because I wouldn't get to talk to you all the time. And
yes, totally.
I love it for connection and communication with, people, great creatives, because the day that Instagram died, I was like, shoot, how am I going? It was a nice day. I got a lot of gardening done and some great things.
Yes.
But I was like, how am I going to get a hold of this person, this person, this person, this person? I don't have their emails and I've just been messaging. I was afraid of losing my contacts with my friends.
It is. And it's a friendship base. Yeah.
That's a good thing. And then there's the slight addiction base behind it, right? Of the way your brain is searching for dopamine. But a few years ago, I decided to really focus on community-based opportunities and real people.
Yes.
And succeeding that way, and knowing that those connections with real people they help you grow substantially as a person and as a human, and getting closer to your goals than any social media will take you.
I think that goes back to your blue zones part too, living in community. So some of that community, I love my Instagram and Facebook connections. That's very true. And I have some of my closest friends that, we talk art and stuff are definitely in that space. And so I think creating that community is important. And I think it's important to create a real life community experience for your whole family and everything that, you get to live in a certain space. And that's important too, right? Truly living and experiencing where you are.
Yeah, that's true. I really well, obviously I have my own community, the Color Me Happy community.
Yes, and it's lovely.
Yeah, and so yes, finding those lids for your pot, really, because they're not necessarily where you live. Especially for us.
Yes,
we don't live in an overly populated, saturated areas where those will. But in saying that, it's so funny that, the more I expanded physically and mentally in working with my community and nonprofits, it's like trickling out into Saskatoon and those physical, because I went on that trip because of Discover Saskatoon. Yeah. And I was like, I live in Lloydminster, right? And they were like, that's fine. We just, I was like, okay, cool.
Saskatchewan is it's kind of so there's your micro communities, and then it just keeps growing, I think, from there, physically and online too.
So never discount your physical community. Don't discount the person you see at the corner store, or you know what I mean? Beautiful connections, and they are important.
They are. Yeah, I think we're just a very social, I guess, creature. So having those spaces where you can feel safe and yourself, and, that's important in life. It's also important, I think, for me, one of the things that was great about moving away was it almost gives you a chance to reinvent yourself too, not to be stuck in those norms that may have defined you. And probably I would have maybe grown into who I wanted to be or whatever, who I was curious about anyway, but at least it gives you, it's just another opportunity for a new sort of jumpstart into, how do I want to look at the world and how do I want to look at myself? Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's positives.
So what is, and I'm looking at I love your work. It's the best. It's just a message of hope. So what is in the horizon? What is in the horizon? You talked about slowing down and
not slowing down from painting necessarily. I think it's slowing down in the experience of it. So rather than racing through sometimes to meet a deadline or to finish something, it's purposefully looking at projects and exploring them even more fully. I've always been a writer and trying to get ideas down on paper to surround a body of work. And I'm really excited to kind of just go even further and see, I do a lot of reading, and how can I couple some of that reading and knowledge base into sharing that with my community as well? Because ultimately, I think we're all here to connect and try to, bring hope and life, not just to our own lives, but starting there, and then let that radiate out is my goal. So I think that's through my art, the horizons and the exploration of the clouds, and allowing that sense of hope and exploration and possibility to always be present in my own life and in wherever my art ends up. So, I think I have a few different projects that involve sort of, some more words behind things. I have
maybe a book.
Yeah, I've toyed with the idea. I have a couple books in my head that need to make their way out, I think, onto paper. So lots of
15 minutes a day.
It's funny because I read that book Start as well. Again, I can't remember the author. And so, he's big on getting up, early just to give yourself the extra hour. And I'm like, man, I already get up at like before 5 a.m. I'm not sure earlier is going to work.
No,
for me.
I think
So,
you're good.
yeah. So it's kind of funny. And it's a matter of, that comes back to that self-compassion question is, what can I reasonably fit in and still be moving towards my ultimate goal? So, and I guess even further back for me is, why do I want to write and continue to share things? Well, I hope that it makes someone else's day brighter, or shares a tidbit of knowledge that will like just enable them in their own journey and experience to find a little bit more light, to find a little bit more hope and keep going. Right. So I think the whys are lining up now. So I think that it's just a process of stepping through and being brave and continuing to put yourself out there, even when it is hard.
I think, well, and in my experience, like I just had to, like it's no other, and as a painter, it's just like, I just have to do this right now. And then I'd be running, and then I'd like make a voice note about like a chapter and get home and like type it out really fast, because if you don't, you forget it.
Yes. Blizzard. Hey,
Blizzard.
She's a big white dog. So it was between Marshmallow and Blizzard. We thought Marshmallow wouldn't go very well yelling down the street. But
Marshmallow.
Blizzard is not so good sometimes either. Yeah, the guard dog. Sorry.
Cute. No, I think it's just a matter of doing it. It's just like starting a document and starting typing it out, and that is that. And you said you already have a pull toward it, and it's really just a matter of making a little bit of time each day, not a whole bunch, just a little.
And commitment, I think. Yeah. So there is a discipline. Sometimes I get asked like, oh my God, how do you keep painting or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, you got to put in the work. Like some of it is actually, you just keep showing up at the easel. And The War of Art. Yes, The War of Art. So it's a book I haven't finished it yet, but it's great because he's really all about you just kind of keep showing up. And Liz Gilbert's another one of my favorite authors, where you continually sort of keep putting yourself in a position where you can grow. So that's my goal, is to try to do that regularly and through and writing and stuff too. So for me, writing a book is just for now it's journal entries and pieces and ideas, and letting that stuff begin to take shape, and it's being patient and not.
That's what books are. It's just a bunch of journal entries.
Perfect.
I bet do you write them by hand?
Yeah.
I bet if you start typing some of them out, you could turn them into chapters.
Probably.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, this was the idea that way. Well, this is how I feel now, and I'm going to bring my knowledge now with that idea. And
isn't that funny? The growth
on it and make it readable for others. Yeah. I think you're there. I think you're ready.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for that's probably the shove that I need to just keep going. And see, there's a question of that.
By the end of the month, you need to send me 4 chapters.
Oh gosh. Yeah. The pressure mounts now. I see how this works. Yeah. But see, and this is a great example for listening, is like that vulnerability. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. And yet it keeps calling, right? So
I still think back to like areas of my book. I was like, I cannot believe I put that out there in the world and people read it. One woman's been rereading my book, and I was like, rereading like over again? I'm like, oh, cool. Thank you. That's so nice. And then people are like, are you going to write another one? I'm like, no, because I don't want to right now. Like I don't.
But now may not be that time, but maybe it's in the future. I think. I don't know, right? Like you don't know. You don't know. And as
a creative, you kind of just follow your heart.
I think you have to.
And right now, I'm like, I feel like painting again, which is a huge gift because I was burnt out. We all know I burnt myself out years ago, and that's why I wrote a book. So. I'm finally ready to paint a bit again.
And it's going awesomely. Super.
Yeah. And then, of course, I am launching my expanding on education platform. So classes. And I have a new large scale class coming out with the new site in a couple of months. So
that's exciting.
Yeah. And I don't know where that's going to go, if it's going to go anywhere. And it's not like my book went anywhere either. You just do things because you want to, and you just do it. And it's
I think
totally
that
scary.
The sooner we can kind of let go of those societal, like, and painting is a classic example of that. Like, why do you paint that? Well, I want it to sell, don't get me wrong, but that's not why it's been created, right? It was created from a space that is much more deeper, personal, emotional, and an expression of who I am right now and who I was and where I've come from, and trying to link all those things and relate them to stories that I have or that people have shared with me. So yeah, I feel so lucky to be able to translate some of that stuff into something so beautiful and meaningful, hopefully for others. But I also don't feel like, I think we can shed some of those cultural norms of needing to be defined by how many copies of your books sell or how many of your paintings are sold. And it's really easy to say, and it's really hard to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's an ongoing
I'm just
work.
needing to trust that it was for a reason. And I really don't know what that is. And
I don't know if we need to.
No.
We need to. Yeah.
No. But it's hard. It's the ego. It's the, what will people think? What will people say? And it's always there, and it's always something I can refer back to. And it's always like, I always use it for my weekly newsletter. Like, I'm like, by the way, I snagged this from our book. So if you like this, then check out our book. So I think it will continue to always be that, but it doesn't have to be this giant, big Jenna Kutcher book launch and having it above me in Times Square, like, that's probably not going to happen for me. And so it's just
but
like, it will help some people.
Yeah, it is helping. It is helping some people. And that's amazing. Congratulations. Right?
Yeah. You're going to do that. It's going to be great. And I can't wait to read it.
Oh, wow. Woohoo! I have one reader.
You have lots of readers. And the thing is, and Joni Mitchell, because I've been researching her, because I painted her face, and I loved her before, but I wanted to know more. So I looked up her literature and quotes and whatever.
Yes.
And she said why she never burnt out from music is because she had her painting. Creatives can be multifaceted.
I think they need to be. And I think if you think you're not creative, you're wrong, because everyone has those elements of creativity, whether they're stifled or not. But that is critical to me, that
if one's not flowing, step into the other.
Yes. Yeah. And let go of that expectation. I'm pretty sure that's a Buddhist one, that, let go of expectation and just be where you are and listen, and it will come out. Yeah.
We're not robots.
Thank God.
Like, if you want to listen to music and sing along to it, and that'll help motivate you. Like, actually, that helps me. That helps get me through so many things. If I'm
I'm terrible. I'm like the silent retreat.
Really?
Yes. So
oh my gosh, if I'm having trouble, well, I'm in the season of life where I have to push through.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a choice. So if it's disgusting in here, or if I need, whatever, or I need to push through, or I have a deadline or whatever, it's like, I need that sense of creation from some other human to carry my whole body through whatever it needs to go through.
That's pretty beautiful.
Yeah, I rely on music very hard.
Interesting. So what musics besides Joni?
Well, it ranges, because it depends on what I need it for. Like, for writing, it's lots of acoustic piano. That gets me in the mindset for chugging through creatively on everything I do, podcasts, weekly writing, proposals, anything. Those things can be overwhelming, but if you're just okay, it'll actually only take me 30 minutes probably to get through this if I just chug through and you put on the things. Or if I'm really physically needing, I don't run with music, because running is my silent meditation.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm so glad my auntie told me to do that when she made me be a runner.
Okay. Made
Yeah,
you.
she was like, "You're joining the cross country running team." I was like, no. And she's like, "Yep, practice is at this time in
Nice.
Red Deer College." It was the best gift because I was like such a turd. You're 19 or 18.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do know.
So I'm glad running's
Listen.
always been there. It's always there. And so, yeah. And then I love dance electronic, which is a guilty pleasure. And I hate to admit it, but I love being motivated by dance electronic music.
Awesome. All the artists that create that kind of music are going to love hearing that.
Just
the kids love that.
It makes it feel powerful. I don't know why. Yeah.
I don't know. Need to know why. It just
and then
does.
I love Canadian folk acoustic, and I love to play guitar, and I'm not good at it. I'm really bad. I love it though. And
I did not know that about you.
Both are in bands or have been in bands, and they're musicians, and I love when they come home and we all sing together, and it's so bad and so good.
Yes, the sing-alongs. That is memories in the making. Those matter. Yes.
Yeah. So I love admitting that creativity doesn't always have to be a perfect or why we're doing it but Teddy, I have finally just picked up the guitar after a decade. I let it go because I chose with this busy season focusing on painting because that was where I needed to succeed, and I'm air quoting succeed. And I just that. I don't know why I did that. It was such a cruel thing to do to just chop that off. I mean, of course I was very tired too with the kids. So, but Teddy loves it. He asked me to sing for him. So I've been writing him songs, and it's fun.
It is fun. Yeah.
So just humor yourself and let go of everything else. You don't have to be good at it.
I think that's
the biggest takeaway.
You don't have to be good. Just keep going. Yes.
Do things because you want to. Make the time. We have the time. We just have to make it. Just have to skim off some of your binge watching time in the day.
Yes, binge watch. Yeah. Well, TV is not on my list. I don't have that one up there.
I don't watch TV, but I watch my phone. I like to either, documentaries or because I feel like that's learning. But I have the guilty, I really love movies, a lot. But I minored in film.
That's awesome.
I love the creative component. Again, so as a creatives, and I said this in my speech in St. John, it is the most applicable skill set. And it's the most disregarded skill set in education. And not only that, but they were a business conference, creativity is
it matters hugely.
It matters. Videography, app creation, photography, all of these things, they are the most utilized, I feel and the most applicable in society today. So not only that, but being a good human.
Well, I think that's
human. Honor your creativity.
True. That is so true. Yeah, I think the creativity is really an important component, and it's it's a mindset as well that is practiced like everything else, right? So do you practice? And I would argue in business, it's also needed for creative problem solving. And so the less traditional elements of it still allow you to find new solutions and actually identify what the real problems are and ask all the questions and stay curious. That's part of being creative. Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure.
Okay, I've got to let you go because you probably got some stuff to do. I got some stuff to do.
Yes, indeed.
Because they'll come rolling back home and make themselves known in this space.
Perfect. We love them all. Yes, we love them all.
So
nice to catch up with you. Super.
Yeah, it's so good to see you. I'm going to release this today, right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so be ready. Just because it's easier because it's fresh in my mind and I don't have to go back and edit a podcast and release it and be like, what did I talk about with that person? And now I have to write about it. So
You talked about
where
lots
can
of
everyone
lives.
find you? What's your website and Insta?
Oh yeah, yes. Please connect. That matters to me. My website is Jodi Miller Fine Art. So it's JodiMiller fineart.com. And on Instagram, it's the same thing, Jodi Miller Fine Art. Mhm.
And all Googleable.
I'll Googleable. Yes, I am, I guess, Googleable. And maybe you'll even see some of these big skies that go, yeah, with those paintings.
Gorgeous work. And I love it's not just you're not just sharing your work on Instagram, but you're sharing insight and motivation and rawness and realness. And yes.
It's a very, yeah, I really go into a lot of writing depth. I find it a really beautiful platform for both the written word as well as the visual content.
You'll find that when you're writing your book, you'll be like, oh, I've been writing all along on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah. And I do love connecting with people there and having those stories resonate. That's amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it'll be nice to have a book available on your link tree in 3 years.
Oh
Jodi
my
Miller's
goodness.
book.
Awesomeness. Okay, we will talk
on
about
it.
the book deals later. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and you know what? So I'll cut it off here. Listeners, sorry, you don't get to hear the rest of our conversation. Bye. Okay, so if you're looking for some time for yourself to relax, release, and unwind, Oasis has the perfect space for you. They offer yoga and spin classes of all levels. Whether you are a beginner or advanced student, Oasis thrives on accommodating all aspects of the practice. Let their serene environment and gracious staff help you in your journey of peace, healing, and strength. Sign up online at www.oasishotyogastudio.com or by downloading the Oasis Hot Yoga Studio app. Feel like yourself. You deserve it.